Hello, my name is Jeff Weaver, and I'm the product manager here at Celerant. I've been with Celerant for about 15 years, and I work with our R&D team on new features for each release. Today we'll be covering the latest features in Cumulus Retail, which will include versions 2.7.9 and version 2.8.0. So let's get started. First, we're going to begin with looking at a few features at the point of sale. The first one is going to be the Sezzle payment integration. The goal here is to provide another payment method for your customers that is contactless and allows the customer to pay over time, such as pay in 4. This is a value add feature, so if you're interested, talk to your sales representative or implementation manager and get the project started. The requirements are going to be that you'll need to have release 2.7.9 or higher, and then obviously you'll have to have a Sezzle account set up. Once you have that account set up, implementation will be able to assist in getting that integration set up on your system. Once configured at the point of sale, you'll start seeing a new tender option for Sezzle. So let's jump into the point of sale and take a look. To begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just enter in an item that the customer is going to be purchasing. We scan the item, adds the item to the point of sale transaction. At this point, what you'll want to do is click on Pay. If you're configured for donations, you can enter in the donation, or you can click on No for no donation. And then you'll be taken to the Pay screen. From here, you'll see here on the left, there's a Sezzle tender now. So at this point, what you can do is you can go ahead and click on the Sezzle tender option, enter in the payment amount. In this case, the full amount is going to be paid under Sezzle. So I'm going to go click on Pay, and then you can go through the process of entering in the customer's email or phone number in order to click on Send and sends it to Sezzle for processing. At this point, the control is now under the customer, in which case we're waiting for them to fill out their information. So I don't have a way to show my phone, but basically what's happening is that the text message has been sent to my phone. If the customer has Sezzle as an app, they'll be able to log into their app. If not, they'll get the text message from Sezzle, in which case they'll be able to go through all the prompts, including the option to either to do a single pay or to be able to do a pay in 4. So in this case, I'm just going to go through. You can't see my screen or my phone, but I'm going through the process of selecting a single pay. Once the single pay process comes up, it'll come back to the to the screen and update the screen that the payment has been complete. It doesn't matter to us if it's a pay in 4 or a single pay. It just matters that the customer has to fill out the information in order for it to get passed back to a point of sale and show up this prompt that says, hey, payment's been completed, we're good to go. You can click on Close at this point. You'll see here that the tender type has been added with the amount, and then you can proceed to finish this transaction as normal. So at this point, if you have the green receipt configuration, you can either print, email, both, or no print if you decide not to. We'll go ahead and not print the receipt for this, and we'll be taken back to the point of sale for the next transaction. The next feature that we're going to talk about is going to be the enhancement to the standard return logic when dealing with refunding customers. So the goal here was to allow refunding the customer with the original tenders, but also allow preventing certain tenders from being refunded in general. So for example, if you don't want to, if you do not want cash or maybe check as being an option to refund the customer, you can set the tender this way, or if you want to limit who can refund cash, there's a security that can control this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of jump into the back office first because that is going to talk about some of the setup side of it. So if we go under the back office tab and we'll go under setup, or I'm sorry, admin, and go under tender setup. This is a list of all my tenders. So if you notice, for example, on my system, I went ahead and excluded check from the option of being reimbursed. We have this new flag, exclude from reimbursements. So once this is checked and the customer is entering or the user is entering in a return, they will not see this tender option when reimbursing the customer. You could do this for check. You could do this for any of the options that you wish. You could even do it for cash. However, in my case, I'm going to include cash on the reimbursement because I'm not going to limit my users at this point. Additionally, if you do have the exclude from reimbursements flag checked, then when you're prompted for the original tenders, that will also remove that option from the list to select from as well. I'll show you that here shortly once we get into the process of entering in a return. The other setting that I wanted to touch on in terms of the reimbursement refund logic is going to be the security. So under admin, under user groups, you have the option. I'll go ahead and look at my cashier group. There's an option here, allow cash reimbursement. So if the user has access to this, they'll be able to do a cash reimbursement without a problem. If the user does not have access to this, as it is set now, then if you try to use the cash reimbursement, it will give you a prompt for manager override. So again, just a couple different ways of handling it. Whether you want to just simply say absolutely no cash reimbursements, then you can remove the tender option. If you rather say, no, I still need to allow for cash reimbursements. However, I'm going to put a fence around it, a security block basically that says, look, only certain users, managers, lead cashiers, they're the ones that are able to do cash reimbursements. Then you can set it up that way as well. So once you have it set up, what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and jump back to the point of sale, and we're going to go through the process a little bit here. So I'm going to begin by just entering in a receipt. So I'm going to add a couple items. Did not find that item, so let me try this one. So we have a couple items on the sale. So at this point, I'm going to go through the process of clicking on pay. Again, I'm not going to enter in a donation at this point. And let's say we wanted to use a multiple tenders, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I have a $20 bill. I want to use $20 cash, right? And then I have a credit card just going to cover the rest. Okay. So we have the cash, we have the credit card. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the transaction. And at this point, I'll be prompted if I want to print, email, both. So I could print it if I wanted to, in which case then I can take a look at the receipt number. So I'm good there. And then we're ready for the next transaction. Now, let's say that the customer decides that, nope, they changed their minds, they no longer want the items. They can go through the return process. So if you're familiar with the current return process, you have the return button. So we start by clicking the right nav return button, and it'll prompt for the original receipt. So I know that receipt number is this particular receipt. I can select the return reason, say they didn't like it, and I can select either one item or all items by simply just checking the box. So now that I have all my items selected, I can go through the process of clicking OK. It'll add those items as being returned, and now I have an option to reimburse the customer, or I can issue credit if I like. I'm going to go ahead and reimburse the customer, and you'll notice a difference in the process now is it's going to first look at the return tender list, meaning that these were the original tenders. You'll also notice it's grayed out, but on the previous screen, we had, when you did a payment, you had the check option. That check option is no longer visible because I excluded it from the reimbursement process. So at this point, I have a couple different decisions I can make. I can say, okay, I'm just going to process and return it to the original tenders, in which case I can go through and select which tender I want to refund it to and click on process tender. If I don't want to do it that way, I can always click on cancel, and then it will take me back and show me all the tender options, and I'll be able to select whatever tender option I want. So at this point, I'm going to return to, let's say, the original card. So from here, I'm going to go ahead. I have the record selected. I can then click on Process Tender. So one of the features is that it will ask you if you want to, it'll populate the amount, but it'll also allow you to override the amount if needed. So at this point, I'm just going to say, yes, we're good there. So I'm refunding the customer $36.87. So then I now have the option. I can either do the cash that was the original tender, or I could click on cancel and open up to all the tender options. So at this point, I'm just going to click on the cash tender because that's the original. I'm okay with that. So let's click on process tender. And now we have the return amount as well. So at this point, then I can simply go and say, okay, let's finish it. And this will process the return, in which case I'm not going to print this receipt. So if you have a single tender, it's going to look a lot simpler. It'll just have one record. You can just have it highlighted by default, click on process tender, and then that will do the return reimbursement to the customer using that original tender. Again, if you have security for the pay, for the cash option, allow cash reimbursements, you'll be able to cancel out of that screen and handle it that way, or you could have a manager override. So those are main topics of the changes that we made to the standard return logic. Okay. So next what we're going to talk about is going to be the customer notifications for in-store pickups. The goal of this enhancement was to provide a way to notify the customer when an item comes in from a vendor and is ready for in-store pickup. This can be handled through an email notification or can manually be tracked if your process is to call or text the customer that their order is ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of jump into the back office first to show you some of the setup pieces of it. Now, I will make a note is that this is something that is you can handle for point of sale special orders. Say, for example, a customer walks in, says, hey, do you have this particular item? Nope, I don't have it, but I can order it from my vendor and it'll be here in 2 weeks, let's say. So you can go through and create a special order at that point at the point of sale, go through the process of ordering it from the vendor, so on and so forth. And then once it comes in, you'll have the notification record. You'll be able to see that and say, contact the customer and notify them that it's ready for pickup. It also works with web orders where a customer might go onto the website, place an order for in-store pickup, in which case it requires a purchase order to be created and sent to the vendor, and then the vendor will fulfill that. Once it's received, that's when it gets added to the notification list. So like I said, let's sort of jump into the back office and take a look at some of the setup side. So from the back office, I'm going to go down to the fulfillment menu option, and I'm going to go under setup. And then I'm going to go under customer notification setup. So you can see here, I already have 2 records. They are both notification method of email. We can automate this as well via a scheduled task, or you can do it manually. So it's sort of up to you and how you want to handle it. Maybe you want to start off with doing it manually for the time being, and then as you feel more comfortable with the process and understanding it and whatnot, then you can turn the automated flow on, and then that will sort of pick up and send the automated emails to the customer. So the first one I'm going to show is, if we look here, you can create a new one, or you can go through and edit, delete, and do the print list. So I'm going to just edit my first one. So what I did is I created the notification method as email, okay? And then I just created the label of first email. This is more for internal reference so that you know that, okay, when a customer is notified, this is the first email that they're going to get. It is flagged as active, so you can set one as being inactive if you want to. The other thing is the notification count field, the notification count order. So think of it as a hierarchy. So basically what will happen is you receive the item from the vendor. It's going to look and say, okay, create the notification record in the database for the customer, but it's going to start at 1. So at that point, then, if you use the automated fashion, it's going to process all the ones, and it will then update the count to 2. So now it knows, okay, we've already sent the first email, so now we're on to the second email or the third email, so on and so forth. The other side of it is this next notification in days. So think of that as, okay, my policy is that I will notify you once the item is in, and if you don't come in and get it within 7 days, then I'm going to send you another notification. So this way I set it for 7 days. It could be 5 days, it could be 10 days, whatever window you want to let the customer have. But basically, we track the next notification date based off of this. So again, if we're talking about an automated process, we start off with this first notification, we send it out. We then update the next notification days to 7 days out. Customer hasn't come in, 7 days later, now we're looking at the second notification email that gets automatically emailed out to the customer, and it's just more of like a reminder. So you have different ways of handling it there. And maybe that one you sit for 5 days, and then you could have like a third one that is your final notice. If you don't come pick it up, we're going to sell it on the floor, and somebody else could buy it. So those are the things that you can do, sort of more of an automated process. It really comes down to how you want to set it up, the process. The other nice features on this is going to be your blind copy email address. So you can set that up so that you do get one in maybe an internal email box, so you know that, hey, it did go out, type of deal. So it's just something that you can monitor. You also have the ability to set the email subject. So in this case, I said, great news, your order is ready. And then you have the body. And this is where you can sit there and say, hey, great news. John, your order 12345 has arrived and is ready for in-store pickup at your earliest convenience. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, right? So that's just something that you can manually type in whatever you want. If you notice here, I sort of filled in the blanks, but you have these variables. And these variables allows you to personalize it to an extent, and you can see what variables are available by clicking on the list variables. So you can see here we have things like the order number. We have the date it was ordered. We have the customer first name, or customer last name, the actual product, the product description 2, the quantity that they ordered, or quantity that's ready to be picked up, I should say, and the inventory store. So you're basically able to sort of customize it. You could, make it as detailed as you want. You could have their names in there. Hey, great news, John. Your order 12345 is here, or your order that you placed on September 1st, 2024 is here. Or the item, a book, for example, came in. You're ready to go. So those are how you can use those variables and populate the body, so that it can sort of be somewhat personalized. So once you have the notification set up, you can see here we can have multiple ones. So I have only created 2. You could have 3, 4, 5. I don't know if there's really a limit. So if you look here, this is my second notification. So again, notification count order is 2, so it's sort of the second one in that hierarchy. In that case, after that, the next notification is going to be 5 days. I could set it up as then create a final notification, for example. I could still use my blind copy. My subject is different. It's more of a reminder your order is ready to be picked up. And then just something, again, different body. Just reminder your order 12345 is still waiting to be picked up. If you need more time, please contact our store at whatever the phone number is, right? So those are just the things that you can sort of play around with in terms of these notification setup pieces. Okay. And again, this really comes into play. You could be used on both the manual way of sending it and tracking it, or an automated way of sending it. So let's go ahead and cancel out of here. So at this point, we've created the customer notification setup. So now we're ready to start processing the orders, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here, and we're going to jump back to the point of sale. So at this point, I'm going to go through the entire flow very quickly, streamlined, but let's take a look here. We'll go and uh, enter in the customer. So the customer comes in, says, hey, I want to buy this particular item. Do you have it? Nope, I don't have it in stock, but I can get it for you. Let me go ahead and create a special order for you. So I plug in the customer. I say, okay, we're going to do a special order. And then we're going to come back and we're going to enter in the item. And in order to flag it as a store pickup, I'm going to go under settings, under shipping, and I'm going to select the store pickup option, select the customer information, save. And now at this point, I'm going to go through the process of paying the order if you want, or you don't have to. It's up to you or up to how you handle that. So I'm just going to go through the process and we'll just use cash for this example. So we're just going to fully pay it. We won't print it. We don't need that for this example. So let's go ahead and jump back into the back office. So now that we have the order placed or the special order created, that's the customer facing, we still need to create the purchase order for the vendor. So from there, we can go under vendor management, make POs from customer orders. So I'm going to go through and let's just search here. And that's the item here. Just make sure. Yep, that's the item. So let's go ahead and we're just going to do a make PO. And I'll just select, see here, vendor. And we've created that purchase order, right? So at this point, we now have a purchase order. We don't need to open that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. So now we're waiting for the merchandise to come in from the vendor. Once the merchandise comes in, we can go through the purchase order list, bring up that purchase order. I'll just look at, for example, today's. And here's the order that we just created. So I'm going to go ahead and do a receive on that order. And we can see here, this was customer order. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to receive all. Yep, we want to receive everything. So let's go ahead and save. At this point is going to print, we have the receiving statement, but then we also have the special sales order allocation report as well, just to give you information that, hey, this is an item that's for a special order. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. I had it flagged to print the tags, but we don't need the tags, so we'll just go to cancel that. So at that point, we've received that purchase order. So now if we go under the fulfillment option, go down, we can see there's a customer notifications list here. If you'll notice, the status by default is open. You can do closed or all. So we'll leave it open. We'll just look for anything out there. And there's our order that we just placed, that we placed an order to the vendor. It was an in-store pickup, and now it's in the notification list here. So from here, there's a couple different things you can do. Again, we can search for particular orders. We can search on the status. We can search for store, order number, order state, the count, so on and so forth. You can also use advanced filtering as well to narrow down the search if you want. So again, if I look here, I'm looking at all my open ones. So this happens to be the customer order that we're looking at or working on. So I can do a couple different things. I can begin by doing an enter notification. So what this enter notification means is this is just a way to manually do it or manually create a record that says, hey, I contacted the customer. So take that email side of it out of the equation right now. You have the date and time. You have the ability to say, okay, what type of method was it? It was a phone call. It was an external email, meaning that it didn't get emailed from Cumulus. It got email. I took it into my my company email inbox, and I manually typed up an email and notified the customer that way. or an external text. Maybe I just use my phone and I texted the customer and just let them know. Or in person, I let them know that it was in here type of deal, right? So those are just the methods. Again, it just helps to classify, I guess, what type of notification was given to the customer. You can then also say, okay, we'll set the next notification in days to whatever number of days you want. So maybe I'll let them know, I contacted them by phone today, and we're going to let them know uh, we're going to follow up with them in 10 days. I could sit there and do that. And then I could also go through the process of increment the notification count or not. So maybe this is a phone call, this is a courtesy call type of deal. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and set that to, let's say, 10, and we're not going to increase the count. And then this just gives the employee defaults to who my employee was, but at the same time, I can change that as well. And then it gives you the customer information just for reference and an area that I can sit there and say, type in whatever I did. So called voicemail, right? Click on save. And now that created a record for that particular order. What that means is that I can go through a couple of the action buttons here. You're able to view the notifications. So let's say, for example, I click on that. I can see here that, okay, I made a phone call, or Bill made a phone call on 9/20, called, left voicemail message for pickup. So it gives you that audit. So if a customer says, I never got a message, I never got in, nobody ever told me that my order was in, you can come through here and then at least you have some sort of audit trail that says, well, no, Bill did call on the 20th and let you know that it was here for pickup or whatever it might be. Um, so you have that option. Uh, or I think I mentioned earlier is that you have the ability to maintain this list manually, and under the action you'll see you can send notification. So that's where that count comes into play, and those email setup things where I had the first email and the second email. So I can sit here and say, okay, go ahead and send the email. It's going to go out and it's going to send the email notification, and you'll notice here that the count is now 2. And if I take it one step further and look at the view notifications, you can see here that an email, the first notification was sent via the customer notification list. So that's the manual way of handling it if you just wanted to shoot it off as an email. Again, there is an automated process. It's just a scheduled task that you would set up, and it would go through and do that for you based on the current date and the next notification date. Okay. So the other options here you can reset that count. Okay, again, we need to sort of backtrack a little bit. Maybe we thought we emailed it, but the count got updated, but we need to back it out. We can do that by resetting the current count for the selected. Or, like I said, we can do the view notifications. We also have the ability to drill into the customer, so we can look at the customer detail if we want. And we can also drill into the order as well if we wanted to do that. Last couple of options, you can manually close the selected, meaning that, okay, customer canceled the order, they're not going to get it anymore, so we're going to go ahead and just manually close this notification so they're not going to be getting harped and hounded that, hey, your order is here to pick up type of deal. And then the last one is print notification details. So if you do that, that just gives you a way of being able to see the notification in printout form. So again, if I wanted to enter in another notification, I could sit there and say, okay, yep, I'm going to do an external text. Go ahead and set that to 5 days. We're not going to increment, and text message as a reminder. Great. Save. And again, if I take this record and then view the notifications, it has the audit. So again, I called, then we emailed manually, then we did an external text message. So we've let the customer know multiple ways that their order is here ready to be picked up. Okay. Once the order is picked up, then it will change the status to closed. So it's no longer on this list, but you still have it, you still retain that information so that if there is any question or concern, you're able to go back and say, how was the notification handled? Do we let them know? Did we use email, phone, text, whatever it might be? Okay, so that takes us through the customer notification enhancement. And again, that is starting in release 2.8.0. Okay, so now that we've gone through a couple of the point of sale, the bigger point of sale changes and enhancements that we've made, I'm going to jump into the back office a little bit more now, and even touch a little bit on the services module where you can do buy, trade, and consignment type transactions. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be the ability to create product categories on the fly. So as you may be familiar with, we offer multiple predefined fields that we call OF fields. They're a great tool, but when you're creating a new product, if the value was not already defined, someone could have to take the extra step to go to a different area of the system and create the new value. So you see that more and more on buy, trade, and consignment, but we also see that in back office. So with that in mind, what we did is we added the ability to create these new categories sort of on the fly when you're creating an item. I won't actually create an item, but I'll just sort of take you through the process. So if we're going into the products, so under product management, under products, and we're going to click on new, so we're creating a new product, right? At this point, I might think, oh, I needed to set up a new OF value, right? Maybe I do it by year and I wanted to set up a winter 2024, right? So I could theoretically do that by simply going and clicking on new category, select OF1, and be able to enter in winter 2024. I would then create the new record, and then you'll be able to have it assigned to the product that you're creating. If you also notice, we have other areas, we have the OFs 1 through 6 that are available, as well as the firearm related options, manufacturer, importer, so on and so forth. So that's one area that you can do it in back office. Again, nice tool. You'll probably see it more if you use buy trade, because buy trade or consignment, that's where customers bringing in an item for you to purchase from them. So it's a used item, but every item is basically new. So if we jump over to the services module, and I'll just show you through the buy trade option, is that we'll go in here and we'll create a new buy trade record. So let's say, for example, a customer brought in a video game, right? Or maybe a board game. So I can go in the process of entering in the customer. This is the normal flow. And then you click on add item. And maybe it's jewelry, right? So we're going to go under accessories, jewelry. And maybe I don't have a value. You can click on the new category from here and you have the option. This one is a little bit expanded because we didn't have the ability in back office. We can already create a brand on the fly. In the services module, we couldn't. So you can do brand. You can use the firearm fields. You can do OF fields and select which one you want. And then you can put in whatever the new option is. We also tried to be informative and give you just a helpful tip that these new categories that you create won't show up in back office until the next day. It just requires a server restart because they're two different projects. But that's why we're trying to just give you the tip that, it's great. You can continue to enter in the item and it'll catch back up the next day. Okay, so that's the ability to create product categories on the fly. Next, we're going to, we'll go ahead and jump back over to the back office and continue on a couple of those areas here. So the next enhancement that we've included is the ability to view barcodes from the product detail as well as copy the barcode if you want. So again, think of it the process of, okay, I'm going through, I need to look up a particular item, right? So I'm going to go and bring up an item. And here's my item. So I'm going to go ahead and drill into that item. from here, I have all that information, the product detail, right? The description, the categories, all that information, right? Uh, Originally, we weren't able to go through the process of looking at or seeing the barcodes. Well, now if you click under Action, you now have an option for barcodes, in which case you can click on that. It takes you to the barcode screen. This is the same screen that is accessed from the product list screen through the Action button. You're just doing it directly from the product detail. So from here, you have the information, you have the SKUs, and you can select what SKU you want. And once you have the SKU selected, you can highlight the barcode, and we have the option now that you can do a copy barcode. So maybe I wanted to look up this particular item on my vendor's portal. So I can take that, copy the UPC, for example, go into a different browser, paste it. It's in my notepad. So I'll be able to do the right click paste or the control V to paste, whichever way method you use, but it's now sitting here. So just to show you, if I would come in here and do a paste, you can see here that was the barcode, right? So that's all it's doing, but it's a really nice tool to be able to sort of streamline the process. Okay, I got the barcode. Now I can take it from there, and then I can, I'm not having to jump around from screen to screen or area to area type of deal. Okay. Another area that we've enhanced is going to be under the vendor management in back office. So under specifically with purchase orders. So the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be the ability to export a CSV of the purchase order. So from there, I'm going to go and click on vendor management, and we're going to look at the purchase orders list. So here's the purchase orders. I'm going to go ahead and we'll just look at today's purchase orders. So this was the one that I did earlier for the special order. Here's one that I created as well. It's more of a stock order, right? So at this point, we added a couple action buttons. The first is going to be the export selected PO to CSV. Basically, this was just a way to make it easier to export the details of a particular purchase order without having to use, say, something like the ordered merchandise list and going that route. So the idea is just to streamline the process, simplify it. The normal process or flow when you're dealing with purchase orders is that you probably start with the purchase order list screen, bring that up, and then you want to drill into it, print it, edit it, receive it, and now you can do the export selected to a CSV. So if we do that, it's just going to create the CSV, and from there we're able to see the actual details of the purchase order, including the vendor, the account number, the product detail, the SKU detail. So you have all that, including the quantity, cost, total cost, right? So you have all this information. It could be something that you could use to upload to a vendor's portal as well, or you can use it for whatever purpose that may be of value. So we'll save that. So that's just one of the new action buttons that we added to the purchase order list. Additionally, some of the feedback we were receiving is just the ability to print a receiving worksheet, right? So we create the purchase order, we can print the purchase order, that's not a problem. And now, the purchase order arrives, so we want to print an actual receiving worksheet that we can go through with pen and paper, and we can mark it up of what we received. All right, we can give it to the receiving staff, and they're able to handle it. So from there, we can go, again, start the process of going into the purchase order list, search for the PO, select it, click on Action, and now we have the print receiving worksheet. We do have two options. We have a linear worksheet and we have the store matrix worksheet. Store matrix is really going to be geared towards those retailers that have multiple stores, where they're created a purchase order and they said, okay, I want 5 for store 1, I want 8 for store 2, so on and so forth. So it's just a different format, but it's the same data. So we're going to look at the linear PO or linear worksheet. So at that point, click OK, and it's going to print out the receiving worksheet. So again, it gives you the barcode, the PO number, just some header level information, but then it gives you the product, the description, color, size, width, order received, the balance, and then a field for you to enter in or to manually write in the quantity that was counted. So again, you're able to then just print this, uh, print this out, hand it to the receiving staff. They're able to use that to match it up to what was physically received, and then you can go through the receiving process if you like, as you normally do. Okay. So that takes us through a couple of the key back office enhancements. What I'm going to do now is we're going to sort of switch gears, and I'm going to talk about some of the integrations that we've recently added or introduced. The first one we're going to talk about is going to be the IndiPet catalog. So this is used for the pet industry, um, and it's basically a central catalog that various manufacturers contribute to with the purpose of being able to streamline the process of creating new products in your system by pulling the inventory from that catalog. So to utilize this, there is a little bit of setup, but basically it would just be a matter of you go under vendor management and you'd go under the catalog item import. And from here you can go through and say, okay, give me the IndiPet catalog. And you can see here we can do, apply to all stores. If we want to um, look for all items or existing products only or non-existing products only, um, and then items that were just added recently type of deal. And then you have the search by. So you can select what these, by default, we have all the options selected, but you can remove them if you decide that you don't want to include that in your keyword search. With the IndiPet catalog, it is a keyword search. So for example, if I would sit there and say, in a keyword, and let's go to the next. So what it's doing is reaching out to the IndiPet catalog with the keyword that we entered in and bringing back all the results. So at this point, this is what it found. And then I can go through and pick off, okay, what is it that I want to stock or to have created in my database, and what is it that I don't. So I can sit here and say, okay, we're going to look at, maybe a couple of these here. So this is dog food, right? So at this point, this gives me some of the information, but my classification might be different than a manufacturer's. So I'm going to go ahead and click on bulk change, and we're going to go ahead and say, let's update the department, and we're going to say pet food, and it's going to be for dog, right? So now we've added that, it's updated the department here, and then I can go through the process, sort of the wizard, and step through the process and say I can set any type of pricing that I want here. And if I'm good, I can just simply import. And what that's doing now is it's creating the inventory records within my database from the data that is provided from the IndiPet catalog. And now we have the two new records and we're off to the races. I can now order it, I can sell it, so on and so forth. Um, so that's the first integration. Again, that's the IndiPet catalog. Let's see. So that takes us through that process. The next integration that we've introduced is the Quivers integration. So Quivers is an online marketplace that is large in the snow sports industry. This modification that we did or enhancement we did is sort of a phase one approach, in which case you as the retailer will be able to automatically send inventory data to Quivers in order to post the inventory on their marketplace, and then customers, they can use Quivers to place orders, and then the Quivers will notify you that an order has been placed and that you can fulfill it. So phase one is where we're going to be sending the data to Quivers, and then a future phase two is where we're going to be looking to bring in the orders that Quivers that are placed on Quivers to be able to get inserted into your Cumulus system so that you can fulfill it through your normal processes. So in order to utilize the Quivers integration, to begin, you'll want to reach out to your sales representative in order to open up a project with us. Once open, our implementation team will be able to help assist in setting this up. Again, the requirements on this one, you'll need to be on Cumulus 2.8 or higher, and you'll have to have an account with Quivers, and then obviously the items that get passed to Quivers will have to have the UPCs, the manufacturer UPCs. Once that's set up, then it's just a matter of setting up the scheduled tasks. So from back office, you can go under admin and you can go through the scheduled task utilities. And this would be a data exchange. So let's take a look here. And we can see here, send inventory data to Quivers. So once the scheduled task is run, you can set it to run periodically throughout the day if you want. It could be once a day. It's sort of at your leisure. But what this will do is this basically just sends inventory information such as the UPC, the product, and the available quantity to Quivers. So Quivers knows that, hey, you have this pair of skis and you have a quantity on hand that we can go ahead and sell it. So if somebody goes through the Quivers method of placing an order, it's going to be they'll see that, hey, you're a dealer, you have it, let's give the order to you. So that's the Quivers integration. There's not much, a lot to show since it is a scheduled task. It's more things that happen behind the scenes. Again, this is just phase one where we're just doing a one-way push of data to Quivers. Okay. Another integration that we've added is going to be sending suggested ordering to Sports South. So this is an additional integration with Sports South. So we've already had the catalog import for Sports South. We had the vendor feed for Sports South. And we even had the ability to send purchase orders and max orders, auto ordering from Cumulus to Sports South. What we were finding is that, it's still, sometimes you just feel a little bit more comfortable placing the orders on Sports South's portal as opposed to going through the PO process in Cumulus. So what we've created is a way to push data. Again, it's more of a one-way street right now, where we're just sending data to Sports South, and then Sports South is going to take that data and they're going to be able to come up with, hey, we saw that you sold 10 of this particular item. You might want to reorder, you're running low on stock, that type of stuff. So it's more recommendations, suggested ordering that Sports South will handle, and they can work with you on the specifics on their end. But this integration on our end is going to just simply send the data to Sports South. So, for example, to begin this project is that you'll first obviously want to reach out to your sales rep to open up the project. And this also will require Cumulus 2.8 or higher. But then you also have to work with Sports South to have it set up on their end and have an account. So once it's set up, again, it's just a scheduled task. So we can see here, this is the Sports South export is what you're looking at. And you can run that, you can set that up to run periodically. Most likely it would probably be like once a day would be my thoughts. But then it's just going to send data that's going to be grouped by the sales date, and it'll basically provide the UPC, the Sports South part number. If you do define minimum or maximum quantities within Cumulus, it would send the minimum max quantities. It sends the on hand, it sends what you have on order. It even sends what was the quantity sold and the last date received. So they have that information. They're able to sort of formulate that, hey, we would suggest that you order it. Doesn't say that you have to. It doesn't create the purchase order for you automatically. It's just giving Sports South the data so they can come in when you go into your portal and say, hey, this is, you're based off of what we're seeing, what was the data that was passed, you might want to order some items type of deal. Okay. So again, a lot of these integrations handle behind the scenes. So that's why there's really not much to show outside of the scheduled task, basically. And then lastly is the Guns America integration. So in this integration, we partnered with Guns America, which is an online marketplace as well, to simplify the process for dealers to be able to post inventory for sale. Again, this is sort of the same concept as earlier, is where it's a phase one approach, where it's a one-way street. We push the data to Guns America, and then as a future phase two, we'll want to pull in those orders once they're made into the system so that you can fulfill them accordingly. So obviously, some of the requirements here, you're going to have to sign up with Guns America. We'll need to set up open up the project on our end, and we'll work with you in terms of getting everything configured and set up within your Cumulus system so that we can start sending the data at that point. The the main differences, there is a little bit more to it because um, there's two fields that are used that Guns America will require, and one is a field to designate that something should be sent to Guns America, and then another field to indicate the condition of the product. So what we did is we've utilized the OF fields that we sort of mentioned or talked about earlier. So you can customize whatever OF 1 through 6 that you want to designate as one of those two fields. You're able to do that. And then it's just a matter of saying, okay, send to Guns America. So you're going to be using an OF field. You're going to be able to use bulk change on the product list to be able to flag items that need to get sent. And you also use another OF field to define, is it new in box, is it used, etc. So once that is all, you have the items that are listed that you want to send to Guns America, then you can see here there is actually a task, scheduled task. Again, it's more behind the scenes that just simply sends the inventory quantities to Guns America so that it can be posted on their marketplace for sale. Again, this is more of a phase one approach, with phase two being a future enhancement or future piece of the integration. So that concludes the latest features of Cumulus Retail. I hope that you gained a lot of value of insights about the versions 279 and 280 has to offer. If you see something you like and need an update, please reach out to our updates department and they can get you taken care of. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
That concludes this session. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please reach out to your implementation manager or account representative. Don't forget, you can refer to the Resources tab under the top navigation panel to download session outlines and more from all of our sessions. Also, be sure to visit our partner booths to check out their special offers and connect with them to enter their giveaways. We'll see you in the next session.